Hi, good day, everyone. Otis Toussaint here, bringing you another episode of My Army Medicine Story, where myself and Captain Holly Weaver, we get a chance to highlight some heroes out there in Army medicine, and we allow them to come and just share their story, share their message, share their history in regards to their Army medicine story. So I hope you enjoyed today's discussion. We've got a great guest for you. So without further ado, here we go. And I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, the one, the only, Captain Holly Weaver. What's going on? Oh, you're mute. There you go.
I do this all the time. I should know better than to be muted, but that's okay. Hey, everyone. So happy to be here today. We are so thrilled and honored to have our special guest with us today. This is episode 2 of My Army Medicine Story. And, just the whole premise behind this series is that we want to showcase Army medicine officers to the force, to everyone that's currently serving, so they can get mentorship and ask questions and hear about different experiences. But we also want to inspire people that are out there working as nurses, working as medical professionals, to actually come in and apply and become the next Army medicine officer, because we are always looking for highly qualified and motivated people to come join us and serve in the military. And so we thought, what better way than to feature these phenomenal Army medicine officers. And this month is particularly special as we highlight and celebrate some phenomenal officers, as we celebrate Black History Month. And this is episode 2. We actually have episode 3 and 4 Thursday and Friday this week with 2 more phenomenal guests. So make sure you keep a lookout for those reminders and see those announcements. But without further ado, Otis, go ahead and introduce our esteemed guest.
Well, everyone had a chance to check out the bio, et cetera, on the description of today's talk. And right now, it looks like we have a little bit of a thing going on the live stream, and we'll try to, before we get that up, I will allow, before our guest to come on, Captain Weaver, can you talk to us a little bit about, a little bit of the details in regards to futures in Army medicine? And I'll go ahead and share that screen there with you so that everyone can get a chance and see what we've got going on. And let's add on that pane. And here we go right there. Go ahead,
Perfect.
Captain Weaver.
Okay, Otis, are you able to go back one slide for the eligibility requirements for me?
Yeah, no problem. Here we go, right. Looks like we got some fun.
Hey, everyone. I think Otis froze up. I'm not sure if you guys can still hear me or not. Anyways, I wasn't sure if he was frozen or if I was frozen. But it's all good. So I'm just going to quickly talk to you about the awesome opportunities to become an Army medicine officer while we work out this technical difficulty. So, I am an Army nurse, and I have been an Army nurse for 8.5 years. I actually was a direct commission, so my Army recruiter came to my college and gave a presentation. I was super inspired. I thought, what better way to get training opportunities, to see the world, and to serve my country than to be an Army nurse. So that was how I entered as an Army nurse. We are looking for highly qualified and motivated individuals. So the basic eligibility requirements are, I'm just going to pull over my computer here. You have to be at least 21 years old, and the maximum age is 42 years old. So around the age 40, there we go. There's Otis. All right.
Well,
you had me. Well, I thought, okay, so let me just throw this out there. I thought that I was frozen, so I didn't know I was still live. So Colonel Curtis is probably getting a kick out of this, back in her computer as she's backstage, because I was just sitting there. I thought I was frozen. I'm like, what do I do? But I'm glad you're back, because I just started freestyling. But let's just go over these eligibility requirements really quick, and then we'll get Colonel Curtis on here, and we'll get things kicked off.
Yeah. And so I apologize about that. I don't know. That's never happened before, but that's what, that's one of the weird things that happens during live streaming, etc. So let me see if I can just pull it up on this shared thing right here. Here we go.
All right, and then just
let me know if this works for you.
That works great. Are you able to do one slide before?
Let me go on that real fast and see if we could do that. And that was just kind of surreal, honestly. But let me, what I'm going to do is just add on those two slides to the discussion. 1 second here, 1 second there, and then I'll put this on here. Whoa. I don't know. Maybe someone tapped into my computer today and is just messing with me. But
you got hacked. I'll just go ahead and talk through the requirements really quick. So you have to be ages 21 to 42, and then you also need to be a United States citizen. For the Army Reserve, you can serve with a green card. You have to have your BSN. You have to pass the NCLEX. And then the most important thing is, in the past, we used to take new grads. Now you have to have experience. And, for the reserve, we need you to have at least, we prefer a year of experience, 1,500 hours. And, the main, our mission changes every year. But the main things that we look for in the reserve, are the ICU nurses, the ER nurses, and the OR nurses. And sometimes CRNA, but our mission changes all the time. So if you're interested and think you might want to do this, you can always reach out to me. My contact information is below, and we'll see what job you would qualify for. Active duty, you need to have at least a year of specialized experience. You're required to have your BLS, and then ACLS and is required for ER and ICU applicants. And then if you're a nurse practitioner or a CRNA, you have to be board certified. And then just the last thing is, these slots are very highly competitive. So you want to make sure you're putting a good packet forward to compete in these boards. But that is really all I want to touch on, just the basic level requirements. So that way, if someone is interested, they could say, hey, am I even qualified at the basic level? And, if you have questions about those, feel free to reach out at any form of communication. You can send me a DM on Instagram. That happens a lot. And, I'll get you pointed in the right direction. Back to you, Otis.
Awesome. Well, hopefully that's the end of our glitch for the day. We'd like to transition into, the guest star of today's discussion. And I got a chance to, talk with her a little bit. You could see by her demeanor, by her comments, by her discussion with both of us, Captain Weaver, she's a very cordial, very calm, and very nice colonel. Not saying that other colonels aren't nice, but she was particularly very nice. And that's something that I appreciated. Her name is Colonel Leslie Curtis. And we're going to add her on to the discussion. And here we go, ma'am. 3, 2, and 1. Hi, ma'am. How are you doing? It looks like you're mute. Go ahead and unmute yourself, ma'am.
Hello. Hi. How are you guys doing?
She Her audio. Okay, ma'am, your audio is in. We are glitch free today. We're working through this.
I've been laughing backstage and all. So I just want to tell you that first I want to say to everyone, thank you for being here. This is such an amazing opportunity to be able to share and talk with you all about just military medicine and being an officer in the military healthcare system. And I can tell you that I am the one that's honored to be talking to you all today. So I'm excited. And I'm ready to answer any questions to help anyone.
Absolutely, ma'am. So let me go ahead and I guess start off the discussion with us today. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and your upbringing, and why did you decide to join the Army?
Well, I have
looks like your audio, ma'am.
Is my audio on? Can you hear me?
I can hear it. I can hear.
Very good. I have a very strange, funny
I still
story.
don't hear her, but it's okay. We're going to work through this. I don't know what's going on today. Today is definitely, you can hear her? I can't hear her. Okay, go ahead, ma'am. Okay. Go ahead and speak your speak. I'll be back.
It's okay. We have to be resilient, right? I have a very different story. It's not your typical military story in terms of coming into as an officer. In fact, I didn't know anything about the military at all when I came in. It was my neighbors, actually. They were retired military. I was an associate degree RN, just working a regular job here. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I was working as an AD, they call it nurse. I had 2 years as an RN. I started as an LVN, and I was working at the VA at the time, and they sent me to RN school. And it wasn't until I met this family and they told me how wonderful the Army was and I should go in, I could be a nurse in the military. And so I ran down to find out about it. That was many years ago. It was when the Army had that slogan, be all you can be. So I ran down there to be all that I could be, and I wasn't able to get in. And I was surprised. And as was mentioned by Captain Weaver, the criteria was that at that time you needed a bachelor's degree. So I had 6 years of nursing, ICU, and I wasn't able to get in. And so I actually decided that I was so fascinated by this opportunity that I went back to school. And in 17 months, I got my bachelor's, and then I came back. So I started my journey at 38. And by the time I was 40, I had finished my bachelor's, and I walked into the recruiter and asked him, how can I sign up? So that's kind of how. So I'm sure recruiters now would probably find that quite surprising to see people I'm sure they do it more so now. But back then, that wasn't pretty common. I was not recruited. I actually was trying to find out how I could join.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that short story. Holly, do you have a question?
Well, first of all, I think that is truly amazing, and it just shows your commitment to the process that, you found out that you, weren't fully qualified, and you went back and you did what you needed to do to be able to apply and to be competitive. And by the very, last minute, did you, get in? Because, they say till 42, but you have to be commissioned by 42. Right. And, if you would have, just been about a year off or, a little bit more than that, then they might have said no, because by the time you make it through the whole process, because as you know, it is a little bit of a long process, but as we all can attest, that process is worth it because of, how amazing it is to serve in Army medicine. But, that just shows, your grit and your determination right there as a person and, as an officer, that you were in it to win it. And we love that.
Well, Holly, thank you. And I will say, first I want to let people know, I absolutely love the military. And in fact, that decision that I made on that day, when I got commissioned, I was so excited. Like you said, I was very concerned about the deadlines, and I was moving. I think I took like 78 credits. I was challenging everything to try to meet that deadline. That's a true story. And the thing that I would have to say that when the military and the Army accepted me into their program, I was so grateful and I was so thankful that I had that opportunity, that my commitment to them is without equal. So I've done my 20 years and on. And so I am a staunch advocate, because at 40 years old, that's a midlife crisis change. And so to bring my family and to start anew and to go into something so unknown to me, I had to really be believing in that. And I had no prior military exposure or experience. So it definitely has been an extraordinary challenge with a lot of ups and downs. But in the end, here I can tell you that it's something that anybody can do. It's really about what you believe and what you're willing to fight for. And that was definitely something, it was a no-fail mission for me. There wasn't any other option. I had to keep going.
Absolutely. I like the story, ma'am. If you don't mind, let's go back, way back, a little bit back, and tell us maybe some of the challenges that kind of stood out in your military career, and what are some of the lessons that you learned during those challenging times?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Well, I can tell you from the very beginning, I was an athlete when I was in high school, but here I am 40 years old. I had 3 children. And so I had to now run. I had to do push-ups. I had to do things I wasn't really doing in a way that would be expected for the physical fitness of the military. And I'd be honest with you, because I love this conversation where we're being real. I was afraid. I was much older, and a lot of the people, I was afraid that I was not going to be able. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I would be able to do it. And so I had to do a lot of preparation. I hadn't been doing push-ups like that, and I didn't know really how to do them correctly. So that was a big challenge. And then once I got into the military and I went to BOLIC and I started my OBC at that time. One of the first challenges that happened here, I said I was an experienced ICU nurse. That was the one thing that I had that I felt confident in. And my first job was in the NICU. I'm an adult ICU nurse, and my first job at Fort Hood was they put me as a first lieutenant because I was commissioned as an ICU nurse because I had 10 years of experience prior to coming in. And I was called, at that time, they call it an 8 Alpha. And so I came in, that was the one security that I had was my skill set. And they put me in a NICU where I had no experience. I was the first officer to be put in a NICU. And it's called Fort Hood. And they had over 300 babies being delivered a month. So can you imagine? I was the only military, all civilians, over 300 babies a month. And that was my first assignment. So you're talking about stress. But I learned the military has done an extraordinary thing for me and has taken me out of my comfort zone from the very beginning. And it's taught me that initially it starts as fear, the unknown. But then what happens is the resiliency comes in your willingness to try to learn and to try to be a part of something. And so I'm in the military, I had to learn. I had a lot of wonderful people around me, but it was scary. But I do want to tell you quickly the irony of it, even though now, and I tell people when I hear lieutenants say, oh, I didn't want to do that. I want to do this. And I smile because I understand. But then I got deployed 2004 in Iraq during the war. Mm-hmm. And I was an adult ICU nurse. So I went for that. But the mission completely turned humanitarian, and they needed a NICU nurse. And I was the only NICU nurse in theater. We found a neonatologist, and we did the first surgery on a baby. We put a shunt in a baby in theater out there in combat. And so it changed my entire perspective of readiness, of flexibility, of being open to things, diversity. And my entire career has been doing things that I have never done before.
Mhm.
But they all have come together in this beautiful, magnificent way to help me to be the person that I am today. So I love to try to talk to people about when there's delays or changes. This is good. It's how you look at it and how you manage it. And I think because I was a little bit older and I had a family and you can't quit and you just decide, you make a decision on how you're going to be and you decide to survive it and you start asking for help and you do everything you can to engage. And so that was some of the initial challenges that I had.
Excellent. Excellent, ma'am. We have some, and we're going to go into some of these comments that are being posted on our discussion. And we encourage everyone that's viewing our discussion to, post your comments or send your questions, and we'll actually post it on screen. And then I'll have Holly go ahead and jump in with a question afterwards. So the first question that I see, and it comes from Major Stouffer up there in the Kansas City area. How you doing, ma'am?
Hello.
She asks, how did your family adjust to military life?
Oh my gosh. Excellent question. So I told you I had 3 children. So I had my daughter my oldest daughter was a teenager. So she was almost out of high school. She was in 11th grade. And then my other daughter, she was about, my son was like 6 and my other daughter was 10. So my oldest daughter didn't want to come. Can you imagine? I'm leaving to go. I've made this decision for my family, and my oldest daughter was miserable. And so she didn't initially come with me. So I think it's important. And what I realized in retrospect, because my children are a little bit, they weren't young, but they were still, you have to talk to them. Their lives are being uprooted as well. If you have family and friends and neighbors and things of that, your children have a life as well. And now you're taking them into an entirely different environment. So there's a lot of fear for them. Where are we going? I don't know anyone. No one knew anything about Texas. I'm from Philadelphia. I've never been south before. Prior to that, I lived my entire life in the city of Philadelphia. So now I'm moving to Texas. And so I think it's important to involve your family in this entire process of you going into the military, and it's excellent that you have this when you have your recruiters to help you engage your family, even from the smallest child all the way up to the oldest child. And it did end up working out, but that I didn't know what to do in the beginning. And so it was extremely stressful. So make sure that you engage your family and take them along with you on this journey.
Okay.
That's truly amazing. And I just want to go back really quickly to your story about, being an ICU nurse and being, sure about your skill set, because, you are coming in as a direct commission. So, you're sure about your clinical skills, but now you have to learn all of the Army skills.
Oh my God.
And, just everything that comes with that, and being a leader in the Army and all of that. And so you're thinking, what I'm imagining is you're thinking like, okay, I got the clinical part down, but I can actually focus on all the military customs and courtesies and learning all of the military lingo and regulations and stuff like that. So, because a lot of the people, that are in the military, they have the ROTC background or their prior service. So they already know all of that military knowledge. Yeah. So you truly, came in and had to learn both. And then your story about being deployed and, how you actually were the only nurse that had that capability. That's amazing. I actually, when you were telling me that story, I got chills because that was just truly, truly awesome. But I want to thank you so much for telling us about your family experience and how you actually involved them in the process and got their buy-in, because that is actually something that we see as a roadblock when we have applicants that are interested, but their family is not on board.
Yeah.
You know, their families are hesitant. They have children that are in high school and don't want to move. And you see these applicants that, you know, they want to do it, and they, you know, they have been wanting to do it, but their families are not supportive, and they end up deciding, I'm not going to do it. And there's a good quote, and it's something that I kind of live by personally. I'd rather regret the things that I've done than the things that I haven't done. And it's by Lucille Ball. I think I might be wrong on who it's from, but you know, it's just kind of one of those things that just goes to, you know, you got your family's buy-in and you went for it. You know, and could you imagine where your life would be if you decided, you know, to not go in the military?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is there are Army programs set up out there to help with the transitionary part, where, say, for instance, a family is located here and say they have to go overseas, or they're coming into the military, and it's through the Army program called ACS, Army Community Service.
Yes, excellent program.
And I bring it up because I worked there in Germany for a couple of years, so I know exactly all the different roles that they play as well. But ma'am, you could go ahead now.
No, I am in total agreement. I cannot emphasize how important it really is. I can't even imagine. This was the best decision that I made for my family, but also my family now in retrospect. So everything that I'm telling you about is going to be about retrospect, because now my children are 38, 30, and then I have my son is 28. So they're grown-ups now. But that whole journey with them now has changed their life. Some of my children are military. One's a captain, she's a lawyer, and the other one is a doctor, a nurse practitioner. But the military, some of their friends that they acquired while we came into the military are their lifelong friends. But they learned the same thing I learned. They're unbelievably resilient. They have friends from all walks of life. We lived all over the world. It was exciting for everyone once we realized that this was going to, we didn't have to be afraid anymore. The military is a family. It's a community like no other community you'll ever be in your entire life. There's no community like the military community, because we all have the same thing in common. We all have the same mission. We're all together trying to do goodwill for the world and for the people of the United States and globally. So when you think of it that way, and I lived on post, my first assignment, it was like an entire city at Fort Hood, and my children had friends that looked like any better than any neighborhood I ever lived in. And it changed all of us for the good. So I encourage people to not let that be a barrier. Yes, you're going to have some resistance, and a lot of it is fear. But if there's any way to talk to your recruiter about maybe going to visit the place or maybe connecting with ACS, I think if you don't know what to do, then nothing gets done. But if you have the support, you can really make a decision together as a family, and it can be life-changing, really, in such a positive, good way.
Absolutely. So the next question I'd like to ask, and it also it comes from, let's look down on the questions and comments area.
Okay.
And this one, it comes from Miss LaDonna Tolbert. She asks, ma'am, how was your relationship with your peers and senior leaders, being that you were older than them, and had more clinical knowledge? That's a really good question. Thanks for that question, LaDonna.
Excellent. I love that question, because actually, and this was my own personal development. One of the first things I had to recognize is I had to stop saying, I'm old enough to be their mom. And I think once I stopped, I realized that these were such incredible young people. I wish that I had that knowledge when they coming into the military at such a young age, and here they were, officers and enlisted and highly skilled. I admired them. So I spent a lot of my time trying to engage, because you have to understand you're talking different generations, and I did not realize that our communication styles were completely different. I want to sit, I want to talk, I want to have a direct, and they want to text, and they want to do other things. So I had to learn the language, how to communicate. I had to see what was important to them, and then try to use my own experience to communicate. So we had to meet halfway. So part of it is I had to really up my game, so to speak, in terms of my communication style. So I had to engage in the ways that they engage, listen a lot more, and then they have brilliant ideas and great ideas, and I had to give them a chance to grow. And I've already grown to some things. So I had to give them the opportunity to grow and listen more and give them lots of feedback, and say, hey, let's just try that. Let's see, let's see if we can engage in what you're interested in. So I think there's a lot of give and take, especially when you come in and you're more mature. You can't have an attitude as I'm older than everybody. They're like my kids. You can't do it. They're peers, and some of us were the same, and I was ahead of a little of them. But the bottom line is we're all professionals. And that's the way that they need to be respected and treated as a professional, and allow people to engage in healthy, professional, respectful communication towards each other, regardless of age.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Holly.
Absolutely. So I'd like to shift gears a little bit. And, this month we are, we're trying to honor and celebrate Black History Month, because it is so important, because Black history is American history. And we just, we want to go into that a little bit. So the Army in the past year or so has really been putting a focus on, improving different processes and regulations to become more diverse and inclusive, such as removing the DA photo for boards, and updating, grooming standards. So that way, we can have more inclusive guidelines that allow individuals to wear more natural hairstyles. So what I'm wanting to know is how, as we as leaders, can continue to be more diverse and inclusive, with our soldiers, our teammates, and the people that we work with. And we would just love your mentorship on this.
Good question.
It is a good question. Well, first of all, I have to commend the Army for taking the lead in addressing this particular issue. And I do think that as a leader, we need to do, especially even in recruiting, we need to give people an opportunity. It doesn't matter what their race, their color, their male, female. We need to give people an opportunity. We have such a diverse world that we live in. People have incredible skills, knowledge, and everyone is different. It's okay to embrace different. A lot of times when you get into exclusion, it's because of fear. There's some level of fear at some level. So we need to address, that's an individual personal addressing that we have to do. We have to reflectively look at ourselves and see, what are we afraid of, and allow people to be the best that they can be. So, and talking to people and allowing people to participate no matter what they are, if they're meeting the criteria and qualifications, and look at their skill set and their ability and their character. And those are the things that become a baseline. It has nothing to do with anything else. It never did. That's just something that's happened because we're people, flawed, and these are some of the mistakes that we've made in the past, but we don't need to continue to make them.
Excellent. Ma'am, let me ask a question based on African American history and mentors and role models that we may have. Coming up in the military, coming up in senior leaders that you may have saw in Army medicine, they may not necessarily look like you. Who may have served as a mentor to you, who may not have looked like you, but it's someone that you could reflect back on and say, hey, this person had the best interest in my heart, in their heart for me?
Well, and the good news is there's so many amazing, and there are good people. There are very good people in the military. I actually have a boss that I work for who's good. I have a lot of wonderful mentors and people that I've come across. There are some that aren't as friendly and aren't as encouraging, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because what can't be taken from you is you. And that's what you have to remember. It's although it some can be frustrating. I think this is where maturity comes in to play at times, but they really can't stop who you are. They can only try to discourage you. But there are also equally more than wonderful leaders that are looking to help you. And a lot of it is you because they recognize that you really want to be a part of something bigger than yourself. Being in military medicine and in the Army medicine in particular, because I'm in the Army and I love it, it's bigger than yourself. And so when you buy into wanting to be a part of that, that is what you're always striving for. And you're always trying to be the best version of yourself. Even if other people aren't, you continue to remain to do that, and it will change. It changes the atmosphere. It changes everything. So be a change maker in terms of that, in terms of including and excluding, not excluding people.
Excellent, man. And so let me ask an additional question.
Sure.
Have you mentored folks who may not necessarily look like you? And what motivational things have you instilled into them in their potential careers moving forward in Army medicine?
Well, I love mentoring because I enjoy engagement. And I'm so blessed and so happy about what my life turned out because somebody took a chance on me that I feel like that is my sole purpose now. So I'm always reaching forward. You don't have to look for me. I'm looking at you and I'm looking for you. I want to help you be successful. I want you to experience what I experienced, an opportunity that's vast for all. It's as big as you want it to be. It's not limiting. It's not, in fact, and if anything, you are the limiter. It's self-limiting if you think you can't do it. But the military medical system offers so much for all of us. There's room for all of us. So I love helping my young lieutenants, enlisted civilians. I'm always, what can I help you with? What's important to you, to try to guide them and get some of the quick answers that I may not have had initially that I know now 20 years later. So I kind of speed up the process for them and try to engage them quicker in some of the resources that we are doing a better job at, but making sure that are available to those that are interested.
Okay, and we have a lot of comments coming in plentiful. Holly, I know Holly is shaking her head like, yeah, I see them too, Otis. So you want me to go ahead? You want me to go ahead and just post them, and then we could just reflect on the comments, Holly? What do you think?
I think that's great, Otis. And actually, I think we're just on the same wavelength because right before you asked the question about mentorship, I wrote a note, saying I want to make sure I ask about mentorship and being a mentee and being a mentor. And I think, this is a perfect time to bring up some more of these comments and see where that takes us. And then we can always go back and talk about the mentor-mentee relationship a little bit more.
Sure.
Excellent. So I'll bring up this comment here from Daniel Venters. And Daniel Venters is on YouTube, and he left this comment here. And he says, "Amen, Miss Curtis." He says, "I live with Army infantry soldiers every day, so I know what you go through sometimes." I'm thinking he's probably connecting the, not necessarily working in a comfortable environment. You're working in a place where, opportunity is there to learn, teach, coach, and mentor from others.
Right. I think that, and here's one thing. I'm glad he said he works with infantry soldiers. I think that we have to do, and there's more work to do in bridging the gap in the differences of medical and infantry, and all of us. We are all soldiers. Now, I understand that the missions are different, but there is a different mindset, and sometimes it segregates us or excludes us from engaging with each other, so we don't understand each other as well. And so I think it's important to kind of get rid of those barriers and go to the human factor. We're still dealing with military, and we're family, we're part of a bigger mission. We all have a key important role, different, but it's still part of the big picture. And so we have to begin to understand and learn about each other's differences. When we have soldiers that come into the hospital that have maybe been in the field, they don't understand the dynamics of the hospital. So it's important that we transition them and train them so that they can continue to do the fantastic work and the valuable work that they do when they deploy, because I was with them. I was with them during real combat, and I understand that they must be trained, and they come to us to be trained. And so those relationships need to be built. They need to be healthy. They need to be sustainable. So it's challenging, but as leaders, this is what should be part of our forward-thinking plan of engaging in healthy relationships with all services, with tri-services, all departments, and all specialties, because we all need each other. When we deploy or go into anywhere in the world, we all need each other.
Absolutely. It's like, hey, why limit yourself?
Right.
The Army's octopus tentacles spread wide and spread far. Multiple skill sets. You could go from, working with an Army colonel doctor to a private 12 Bravo. We're all under the same umbrella of working for the U.S. Army. So you've got to be flexible in the cultures and the people that you may run into every single day. So excellent point that you shared there, ma'am. And so we've got some more comments coming in. So I encourage you all, keep bringing in those comments, keep bringing it in. We've got one here from Miss, let's see. This may be a recruiter comment right here, Captain Weaver. So if you could help us out here. They asked, did the age limit change recently? Previously, I thought it was 47. Is that correct, Captain Weaver?
I'm not sure if it was ever 47 that I know of, but right now it is 42. But there are special circumstances where physicians or nurse practitioners or CRNAs might be able to get a waiver, an age waiver. And then there are cases where if you have prior service, if you are an officer and you had previously served and you're coming back into the service, that kind of a thing, that would take down your Army age and you could potentially be a little bit older. So it doesn't 100% exclude you if you're past 42, but it's a case-by-case specific basis. So that would just be something that person would have to specifically inquire about.
Okay. Thank you very much, Holly. Next comment that I'd like to post up here. Someone, I think this person potentially may be reaching out to you, ma'am. And the person's name is Jackie Onassis. What a historical name. They ask, ma'am, where are you located right now? Where's your station?
I am stationed at Brooke Army Medical Center at Fort Sam. So this is the largest military healthcare facility, I believe, in the network. And so we're at the certainly an extraordinary location. There's lots of diversity, every service you can imagine. The military healthcare system is different. It's changing. You're just coming in at an exciting time. I'm so excited for everybody, and I'm happy for everybody. Yes, there's a lot of challenges, but there's so much more good. You're going to do some amazing things in the future. There's just so much to look forward to. And even when I deployed, I was afraid. I didn't know. But once I got there, I was so glad I was there because I had experience and it was a family. We were together and I am just excited. So there's a camaraderie when you're in these, even when you're CONUS, they call it, when you're working in your state with your facility. But no matter where, it starts there and then we go abroad. We're still together. We're still a family. So that's where I'm currently working.
Excellent. And I think she followed up by saying she's going to be there in March and she hopes to meet you.
Oh, she will. She can come down to Quality. I would love to meet you and help you find your way and make sure that's my job. That's my job, is to help you as long as I am in the military and even when I'm not. So I certainly would love to meet you.
Excellent. Thank you, ma'am. So the next comment question I see, and this is a good one, from Alicia. She asked, do you know by chance, Alicia?
I do.
Okay, excellent. She said, during your time of service, was there an event or moment that truly stands out as something you are proud of? Good question.
Oh, yes. Now, when I was in combat in 2004, and we were taking care of those soldiers and getting them out of there in theater, I couldn't have been prouder to be where I was and doing what I was doing with the people that I was with, and helping the people at that time of Iraq. And like I said, we did a humanitarian mission. I couldn't have been prouder to have the skills that I had, the knowledge that I had, to be a part of something. I will never, ever, ever, ever forget that. It's life-changing. It changed me to the point when I came back, my whole perspective on living and how we are towards each other has changed dramatically. So that impacted my life for forever. So thank you for asking that question.
Excellent. And I think that was an excellent question there from you, Alicia. I noticed you kind of got a little emotional there. A little bit. And I think that's wonderful. You got me reflecting, because I was in Iraq myself, April of 03 to April of 04. And
okay. With who?
I was with 110 Cav. I was a medic with the 5th Engineer Unit out of Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and we were attached to 110 Cav. And so I remember that was probably one of the moments that one of my most proud moments anyways in Army medicine. Yeah. As a combat medic and seeing some folks get kind of injured and, taking care of some Iranian kids also, that MWR that they needed right then and there. They see a combat medic, they see the Army, and they need someone to kind of give them some reliance. And I remember those moments. So, ma'am, thank you for rehashing those memories to me.
Then you know exactly what I mean.
Absolutely. Ma'am, continuing with the theme of Black History Month and the importance of it, can you talk to us about the importance of where representation matters, and why does it matter so much so in Army medicine?
It really matters, because even as coming into the military late, I did not, believe it or not, feel, confident that, that this was something that I would be able to be successful. And it had nothing to do with the skill. It had being able to be accepted and being an officer. I think it's important to have women, people of color, different nationalities representing at every level. It's important for the well-being, just in general, of the nation, because we're so diverse. And so I think it shows young people and it shows people that could be me. I can do it. And they don't exclude themselves because they think it's something that's not obtainable. So when you have people of color, women of color, men, women, diversity of all different races, I think it adds credence and value to what you're doing, to the organization, and to showing the world. We have an opportunity in the military to show the world how it can be, We're the most diverse organization in the world, but yet we still have work. But we can continue to show the world what diversity really looks like and why it's important, because I think it brings a wellness and a healthiness to the nation.
Excellent, excellent, ma'am. As always, I think your comments and your answers are just hitting the points exactly how they need to be hit. I think more than anything, those who, there's a couple of things. Those who may think that their representation is not there can see that very clearly. Those who are in senior leadership positions, heck, even the Surgeon General of the Army is a man of color. The deputy is a woman of color. There is representation in the leadership there in all of Army medicine. You could see from those who may feel like, hey, I may be too old to join the military. Well, no,
you're not.
You come with that skill set. You come with that assurance that you have a chance to teach, coach, and mentor, and to be taught, coached, and mentored while you're joining the military. That opportunity is there as well. And Holly, would you like to at least go into, I guess, a couple of final questions for Colonel Curtis-Glanton also?
Awesome. Well, I just want to say this has been a great live stream, and I truly feel like I could personally sit and listen to you all day long, because you just have so many words of wisdom and great stories, and you're just very personable and charismatic. So I can see why, so many people, gravitate towards you, because you just are very, personable, and, you can just tell that you care. So we appreciate you being real with us and being genuine, because that is a very great quality that we are just thankful that you're sharing with us today. So I just want to say that. But my next question that I had was, as we go through Black History Month, is there an Army medicine officer that has inspired you that you would like to highlight?
Absolutely. Let me see. It was about 2005. Very early in my career, I met the first time ever, when you were just talking about representation, a dynamic woman, Colonel Adams. She was my boss. She was, at the time, she was the assistant DCN, and boy, she was phenomenal. She was strong. I admired her. She was extremely intelligent and knowledgeable. And I was happy that I had a chance to meet her, because I'm like you said, being older, you don't have to have a lot of peers that you can kind of look to. She was older. She was in my age range. I was older than her, but she was in my age range. So I felt very ecstatic that this was someone that I could look to. Because I had a lot of experience, you want to be able to look to others to gain training, knowledge, and information. And certainly there's a lot of that. When you're in the military, there's so much to learn. So there's lots of people that can fill that. But as a woman, and as a woman of color at that time, I needed to be able to meet someone that I could look to and see just hope and encouragement early in my career. And she certainly did that. And she helped me with the military end that I was struggling with, and trying to, learn all the military aspects of being an officer, especially being a direct commission. And she helped me navigate through that. And she was very firm in her delivery, but she was extremely professional. So I understood that there's a military bearing that comes with being in the military. It's not the same as when you're a civilian. So I had to learn what that looked like and recognize that. So she was very instrumental. And thank you for asking me about that. It changed my life.
I think that's a powerful statement, and I definitely can share that sentiment. There are a few Army officers in my career that undoubtedly have changed my life and changed the trajectory of my career. So I think that we all have those individuals, that we can celebrate. And Otis, I would like to kick this question over to you. And do you have an Army medicine officer that you would like to highlight and celebrate for this month?
Oh, well, he's not a man of color, but he was a man of substance, or is a man of substance. Yeah, he was the guy that kind of gave me the opportunity to find myself again. When I was in Germany for a few years, it wasn't the easiest time. It was kind of rough for me, and so when I came back, when I applied initially as a civilian to come back to the U.S. for a new job, I was working in ACS in Germany, as I said, and I applied for a job with the 5th Medical Recruiting Battalion. And coming back to the 5th Medical, and I know I've got a lot of words that I want to share, but I want to make sure that it resonates absolutely correct, and what he means to me. Coming back to the 5th Medical Recruiting Battalion, I wanted to find myself again as far as as far as what it means to be a civilian and what it means to be someone who takes care of Army soldiers, who is a professional, who takes care of the things that need to be taken care of. The little things matter very much so. As a civilian, you would say. Now, I personally thought many times that this civilian career field really wasn't for me. This Army medicine career really isn't for me. What am I doing with myself? What exactly am I trying to do here? Am I good enough?
Yeah.
Am I good enough? Essentially. But he made me feel like I was good enough. And so every morning I worked hard coming to work to make sure that I do the best of my ability to be the best possible person that I can be. And so he motivated me so much so that I was recognized as one of the top social media managers in all of Army recruiting. He's the one that told me, apply for this job coming up here to the Office of the Surgeon General. He's the one that told me, hey, Otis, you're good. You may have a lot of doubts in your head, but you're good. And I want you to be successful. And I will never discourage you from doing what you need to do to take care of your family. And what's his name? His name is Major Wyatt. I was going to say his first name, Charles Wyatt, but Major Wyatt. Major Wyatt. I don't know if you know him, ma'am, but he works in public affairs there in BAMC also. But Major Charles Wyatt, I told him I would run through a wall for him.
See that?
I would run through a wall for him. Absolutely.
Can I say something, Otis? Otis said something that is quite profound and about leadership. Mm-hmm. When you have a leader that cares about you, cares about you and sees your potential, you will be surprised what you will be able to do and how hard you will work for that leader. And that is one of the things that I learned early on. That's why I like mentoring. When you invest in speaking to people and encourage them to be the best they can be, and that it's hidden in them, it's always there, and you get them to tap into something that's already there, you can change their lives. And this is where you get that high performing teams or people, because people innately want to do good, but they don't have the competence, they don't feel motivated, they don't feel encouraged. But when we, and leaders only your level of influence, so we're all leaders, but when we decide to invest in individuals and take time to find those wonderful things to point out and encourage them, it manifests into this beautiful thing for them, as well as for you, because you're building this incredible relationship with them about the human factor, about who they are, and really caring about them. And people just want to be cared about. And that motivates them to be the best that they can be. So I love your story.
Well,
But
I want
it's
to add
true.
one. I want to add one more person that I can say. I was lucky. I was absolutely blessed to work with
Mhm.
Major Wyatt there in San Antonio. But I've transitioned now to the Office of the Surgeon General, and
Oh yeah.
the colonel that I worked for here, Colonel Warthen. Let me
Mm.
tell you. Let me tell you about Colonel Warthen. She is a spiritual woman. She's a praying woman, and she's that person that, she gave me this one motivational thing. She said, there's a lot of white noise that goes on in your world. You've got to tune that white noise out and
Yeah.
focus in on that plan. She's the one that put me in the position to do that recent town hall with the TIG, as in the IG for the Army, the Surgeon General of the Army, General Dingle, the Sergeant Major of MedCom, Sergeant Major Huff, and Dr. Savosky. She's the one that put me in that position, and it's because of her mentorship, her constant, "Hey, Otis, you got this," is what I
Good.
appreciate well. So I had two great officers in Army medicine that's helped me out
And I
tremendously.
bet you have more. You'll be
Oh, well,
surprised. Yeah.
oh, well. Thank you for that question, Ollie. Thank you for
Yeah,
that
that was a
question.
great question.
I
Mhm.
just thought it would be great, we all, just kind of kick it back to you so we could hear a little bit of your perspective as well. But, as we kind of close up this discussion, I know, Otis, you have a couple more comments that you'll bring up on the screen, but
Mhm.
I have this motivational calendar, and every day it gives a different quote. And I was looking at it today, and the quote is just, I feel like it truly resonates with our discussion and with what Colonel Curtis has shared with us. So I'm just going to read it real quick. It
Okay.
says, aerodynamically, the bumblebee shouldn't be able to fly, but the bumblebee doesn't know that, so it goes on flying anyway. J.K. Rowling. And I just feel like that,
Yeah.
kind of, resonates with your story and what you've shared with us, because you tried to apply for the Army. You didn't have your bachelor's degree. You went back and you got your bachelor's degree. You could have stopped right then. You could have said, I'll
Mhm.
just be a civilian. But you went and got your bachelor's degree. You came back and you applied and you got in just the nick of time, right before you were at the age cap. And then moving forward, you're an ICU nurse. You got put in the NICU.
Mhm.
Then again, you could have quit. You could have not had a positive mindset, but you kept driving on and you knew that you could do it and you did it. And then look how, that just continued your success, and the story you shared with us about your deployment truly probably saved that, that baby's life. So, what I'm just trying to say is, this quote, I just felt like really kind of just tied it all together. And, we're just very honored and happy that you have been here with us and really have motivated me personally. And
Mhm.
I know there's a lot of individuals out there that have been watching this and that will watch the playback and will also feel your passion and be motivated as well.
Well, then I have a final comment for them. Unless there's
Absolutely.
someone, because what I would say to them is that even now, as a full bird colonel, it's still a journey. It's still an amazing journey. It doesn't end. It wasn't something that happened a long time ago in your past. It's continuous because it's a life journey. The military is part of my life journey, but the journey continues for the remainder of my life. So, what I will say is that I've learned from military medicine, no matter how steep the challenge is, I have a foundation, I have a start point where I can pull from the confidence, the support, and most of all, I know who I am and I know who I want to be. And that helps me to manage any challenge or job or situation because I remember where I came from. And I think there's nothing more difficult than what I've already done. So I can do this. And you just keep embracing every challenge. And it happens for the remainder of your life and throughout your military career.
Absolutely, ma'am. I think wonderful words, resonating words, motivational words. These are things that we appreciate from you. I've got a
Yeah.
couple more comments that
Sure.
people are posting, and then we'll close it off for our discussion today, ma'am.
Sure. Absolutely.
And one comment coming in from Miss Janice Wellington. She said, "Great interview, Colonel Curtis-Glanton."
Thank you.
And Miss Beth, was it Salisbury? She said, "A timely talk with great leaders." Well, thank you very much, Miss Salisbury. And ma'am, I just want to say from us here in Army Medicine, we really appreciate you coming and having this discussion with us. Captain Weaver?
Thank you so much again, ma'am. We truly appreciate you coming on here and providing your mentorship and expertise. And, you know, I will definitely be tapping you on the shoulder again in the future to provide mentorship to the Army Nurse Corp Officer Facebook group that, you know, we have recently started. And thank you again for all of your words of wisdom. We truly appreciate it.
Well, thank you all. It is my utmost pleasure. I look forward to it. And I don't want people to be afraid, Colonel or not, I'm still a human being and I'm a person that cares about you. So don't let that be a barrier. Just raise your hand, ask your questions, and you're going to get lots of help and support. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. Hang out in the broadcast room and we'll talk a little bit more.
Okay, no problem.
And so we had just another great opportunity there to talk to another great Army leader in Army medicine. Tune in tomorrow for our next episode. It's something I'm sure that you're going to enjoy as well. And until we speak again tomorrow, Army medicine is Army strong. Bye now.